Okay, so where we started to make our lines going across the grid, and in the end, I was able to drag out 30 lines and then reduce each one by 8%, or 92 up here when I hit transform. If I was able to put in 92, and that reduced each one down subsequently till once I got towards the end here. These last four, I took away some extra points in order to smooth them out a little bit more and just make this last one straight. So if you look here in betwixt these two, I took out these middle points over here to kind of smooth it out, and then I made them a little less curved, a little bit more. I think I brought this one in when I transformed it. I brought it in by 50% instead of 92, and here I brought this one in by 75. So that allowed me to actually make these a little bit more transitional. But these transition nicely, I believe. And what we've got is now we have our paths weaving in and out of our horizontal wires. Now, I believe the next thing we want to do is we want to hide the guide. Well, actually not yet, because we have another issue that came up. And the issue is that if we look at these wires coming in and out of this microphone, the wires are actually staggered. They're not where these are winding in, these are winding out. So we have to actually show these staggered here, and we're not currently. So we need to actually stagger these wires by selecting every other path. And we do that by holding down the Shift key and clicking the path selection tool, and then going over and then just clicking and dragging out a little box over every other path. And then once we have every other one selected, we're going to shift these down so that they are now staggered. I'm going to zoom in on this to make sure that they're staggered just right. They're not right now. There we go. We want to lock them into place. Let's make sure that they're just where we want them. That looks good. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. So we have our staggered lines. And then now we want to repeat this pattern going across on the other side, because it is a round, it is a cylindrical object, and while these are bending one way, these are bending the other way. So we want to make sure that that shows up here. So that's why we drag these out and just made one side. Now we're going to take that, we're going to select all of these vertical lines, and we're going to hold down our Option key, click, and drag them all out. So we have a duplicate copy. And now that we have a duplicate copy, we want to take that, we want to go to Edit, Transform Path, and we want to flip horizontal, but it's not allowing us to do that. So we want to make sure that we go to Edit, Free Transform Path first. Then I think we can go to Edit now, Transform Path, and flip horizontal. There we go. That allows us to do what we need to do. So now we want to zoom in. We want to apply that. Okay. Now we want to zoom in, and we want to line this up. And we can go just like that. If we hold down the Shift key and we move these, we will lock them into place with the grid. And we basically have 3 spaces, or 3/16 of an inch, in between each wire. And I think that does it. So we have our pattern, just what we needed. All set. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to hide our grid. So we're going to go to View, and we're going to go to Show and we're going to turn the grid off. Or we can hit Command, I believe it's, let's see, it's Command quotation marks. Command quotation marks key will hide and show the grid. So now that we have our paths the way that we want them, we are going to start stroking our paths. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make 2 layers. We're going to make a horizontal layer, horizontal wires we're going to call it. And then the next one we're going to call vertical wires. And we're going to pick a gray color. Let's say 50% gray, maybe about there. Maybe a little lighter there. That's pretty good. And we're going to pick the size that we want for our wire width to be. Now right now I have my brush setting set at, and I picked my brush in order to stroke these lines. What I want to do is to pick, let's say 40 seems a bit thick. So let's try, well, first thing we have to do is pick the brush. So let's go to our brushes, and I am going to pick a hard round, no smoothing brush under my company brushes. It isn't feathered, so if we look at the actual brush settings, we don't have any of the brush tip shape things checked. For our Wacom tablet, the size is at 10 point and the spacing is at 1, so we have a nice clean line. So we're going to go back here, and 10 seems a little small. We're going to need that a little bigger. So we're going to change the size here to maybe 20. Let's see how that looks. That's better. I think 20 is the way we want to go. So let's click here. Let's use the path selection tool. Click on our horizontal lines, and we're going to hold down our Shift key in order to select those. And we're going to click our brush, go to our paths palette, and press this button right here, which should stroke out our wire lines. Very nice. Okay. And that should have been, it was on the wrong layer. So we will change that to the horizontal wires layer, go back to paths, and stroke it again. So there we have our nice wires all set. So now the next thing we want to do is we want to go click on our vertical wires, our vertical wire layers, and then we want to select all of our vertical lines. Our horizontal lines are automatically unclicked at that point. So here we want to stroke again, same width. We have it at 20 pixels. We're going to go back to paths. We make sure we are on the vertical wires layer, and we hit stroke. Now that actually, let's take a look. So those are all separate, but how do those look in relationship to that? Not bad. It's pretty close. These wires are very close together. So I think that that may work. These squares are not that big, but these wires are kind of thick. So the squares are about that thickness when we look here. So I think we're good. So we're going to stop it here. And on the next video, we are going to show how to bevel and emboss these and to make them look like wires. So I will catch you on the next video.